There is a big shift happening, and I feel it within myself. That's why I have been struggling and wrestling with how I feel about social media, how often I want to come on using social media, but I see it with other people. Like some of my favorite YouTubers, even the way they produce and create content, they're slowing down more. They're posting way less. And with social media, it's so interesting because professionally, what I do, what I get paid to do is come on and be a marketing strategist for companies. And I am definitely telling people that I'm working with to come on and show up more and tell your story and embody your brand and build your brand so you can ultimately sell your product. And that is all so true. And social media is an incredible tool to do that, to communicate, to storytell, to share yourself on here. And technically speaking, YouTube is also social media. There's socializing happening, but I still feel it's a little bit slower. It's a little bit more raw than what things like Instagram or TikTok or things that are needing us to move faster, and they're actually feeding into and supporting the culture of quick attention spans. And I'm not against that either. When I'm coaching people and telling them how to create an ad that is going to do really well, everyone hears this. It's the first, not even 3 seconds, sometimes it's the first 0.5 seconds that captures people's attention. And that is because it's not just that people have such short attention spans, but there's so much coming at us. And so it's almost this competition for attention. And competition is natural. I mean, especially with the drive of certain people, like competing and wanting to be better or be the best, like that can feel good, that can feel innate, especially for men. But when you are a woman, and this video I feel like it's mostly for women, it's still applicable for men as well, but for my ladies tuning in, hi, I'm Sucha. I'm 28 years old, going to be 29 in just a few months this summer, and definitely in that precipice of my Saturn return. I'm still understanding fully what that means, but I do love to take astrological nuggets and just see how that feels for me, what I resonate with. And I'm also in this stage of coming out of this full job transition. So about a year ago, I experienced a big job transition. I have videos about it. And basically, I've been rerouted by the divine to come back to pushing through and really not even starting my own business, but really letting that be my truth of my entrepreneurial spirit and wanting to serve in that way. And I'm not even fully attached to that. Like, I don't feel like I must need to run a business and this is a thing and this is a pride thing. I feel like I've been so humbled in my 20s, and a big reason I poured everything I had into the company I was previously working for was, first, I was so heart-inspired, heart-led with the mission of regenerative agriculture. That's really where I love to put my work into, and those are still the companies that I'm working with now. But in that job, I fully surrendered to like being an employee and really acknowledging that I'm still serving my mission. I'm still carrying out my assignment by working with someone else, because owning a ranch, being able to source from multiple places and really carrying that huge mission, something as big as regenerating and healing our lands and soil, while producing really high quality food, specifically meat for the masses, that's a big mission. I can't do that by myself just yet, and I don't even know if that I would ever want to. I very much want to support doing that. And so that's why I feel like you can still work for a company, you can be an employee, and still have that be so purpose-driven for you. And I know people say don't get emotional about work, but I let myself get emotional. I feel like I wouldn't be able to sustain working for somebody as long as I did if I wasn't so committed to that mission. Same thing when I used to work for a plant-based supplement company. I was plant-based at the time, and everything that the company stood for, using clean ingredients, using plant-based ingredients, having things minimally processed, that's what I believed in. And I was very much in the fitness industry. Same with gym sales. Like, I actually let myself enjoy being a gym salesperson when I was 20 years old because gym was life for me back then. So I feel like for me, and I know for many of you watching who feel like you need to feel alive in everything that you do, let it be emotional. But I'm keeping this video raw. I'm not editing little clips here and there. So I want to reel it back in and talk about basically share a story of what I experienced this past weekend. And this past weekend, it was Friday, and I felt myself just really feeling like I was on a hamster wheel, just running and running. And in this new transition of life, as in really starting my business and also co-creating with my partner and figuring out what that looks like and having it be so mission driven and so purposeful, but then figuring out the logistics of what does that look like to run a business and do business together in partnership, in relationship, and also taking several months to having been so calibrated, like bringing my nervous system to a full reset. Basically, I took several months of not working after I got let go from the company I was working at, where I dedicated so much of my service to. And it was so meant to be. I'm in this place where I'm grateful for that decision because that pushed me closer to my truth. And I feel like I'm very much in my truth every step of the way right now. But there's this big commitment that I'm continuously making to myself, and that was actually something that came up for me like 2 years ago. And it was this message of working from honest energy. Because we talk about capitalism, and it's so interesting because yes, there's capitalism. There's that rush and push for making as much money, scaling as much as possible. But having worked for a company where I did scale this company from, just a low 6 figures a year to multi-million dollars a year, I could see that if we didn't continue for that growth, then growth wasn't happening. And for something to be alive, to continue serving more people, it needs to grow. Because if it's not growing, it's dying. Because even with maintaining, you need to continuously have it grow, or else you're losing customers. There's always going to be churn and people who unsubscribe or choose a different brand or can't afford it anymore or go through their other life transitions, or maybe they went from eating plant-based to eating animal-based, and so they're no longer, resonating with whatever that is, like the plant-based supplement company I was working for and a customer of, and no longer resonates. So anyways, capitalism is nuanced, but things need to grow. And so I'm not against growth, and I'm very much for it. And if it is truly a company that's doing so much good for the world, then you're adding and you're putting really great jobs out there for people. And we want to continue to create this movement where we're bringing a new earth into business. I very much stand for that, and that's what I pushed for in the previous company I was in, and that's what I'm anchoring into now. I want the business that I'm building with my partner. I want the way that I'm showing up as a consultant, as a contractor for different clients. I want to continue to build into that new earth. And so as much as I want to push for growth, I don't want to get stuck in that trap of needing to go. and feeling like I never know enough, and so I need to continuously bring in more information. And yeah, that brings me to the story that I want to tell you. And so it was Friday, and I'm currently on my bleed. I'm on my period, and definitely I always believe in slowing down, and it looks different for every woman, because you'll know this is day 3 for me. And so I was actually able to go to the gym because on day 3 my period is wrapping up and I feel like I'm a new woman and the energy is coming, and I'm still feeling all the things happening in my womb space, but I feel this energy. But it's actually a week before my period where I experience some moods, some things, and it's like the later luteal phase where my body is like, all right, we are needing to wrap up. It's fall and winter time. And the first day and 2 of my period, definitely a time for me to take it slow, but also spend a lot of time in the sun and walk and do all that feels good. But I also feel like it's easy to get caught up in this entrepreneurial spirit of, you need to work hard, you need to be in the game, you need to push, because when you're not working, other people are working. And we've all listened to Gary Vaynerchuk and definitely listening to the Hormozis right now, and there's so much gold. There's so many beautiful nuggets that I love from all of these entrepreneurs that I listen to. And at that same time, it's easy to get really caught up in that. And in this stage of business, I'm not only consulting people with marketing, but I'm marketing for my own company and also practicing a lot of sales. And sales is this consistent, really exciting skill that I want to continue to build and build and build. And so in the pursuit of wanting to continuously progress and learn marketing and learn sales and stay on top of the AI tools, and by the way, little thing on AI, I'm not against AI. I actually feel like it is creating more efficiency for us to do the things that can be automated now. And it's allowing us, so listen to this, AI is pushing us to be more in our truth, to serve in more ways that only humans can do, in real, personal, in touch, maybe even more in person experiences, and really pushing us into our most divine creativity. I don't think that AI is actually taking away from jobs that absolutely need to exist. I think there's evolution in that. I listened to a podcast, and I'm about to tell you to not listen to so many podcasts, but I listened to a podcast that was just having me feel really at peace around the whole AI stuff. And it was this example of, in New York City, people used to literally get around on horse carriages, and then there was taxis eventually, and now there's Uber, but then there's also electric skateboards and bikes and all of these different things that people are transporting in. And so eventually the guy who rode the horse carriage and gave people rides around New York City, his job had to leave. And although there are some taxis, a lot of taxi cab drivers, their jobs had to leave. And we're continuously innovating. And although, yes, I mean, literally I have family members recently who've gotten let go from companies. I know a ton of people in the technology field. I come from that field in the sense that both my parents were in tech. I was trying to pursue tech for the first few years right out of high school. And definitely things are innovating there. But is that really where we want to spend our time? Like, why not have AI automate the things that need to be automated, and then humans, we can be pushed into this next level of new earth, new innovation, and maybe more in-person experiences, more things in the spiritual. I definitely see more and more people being pushed into their spirituality, and that looks so different for everybody, and I honor that. But it also is really getting us to step up with, I want to come back to this word innovation, which means really discovering and unearthing new things, but really our truth and where we're supposed to go. And that can't happen when we're in the monotonous day to day. And the human brain is literally structured to create shortcuts. And we learn really fast and we can adapt really fast. And yes, AI seems crazy right now, but a car to me still feels crazy. Sometimes when I'm in my car driving around and I'm like, whoa, like, is this like, how are we driving this automobile just so fast? And there are more and more cars every year, and there's more 16-year-olds being hatched who can drive and get a license. And it's a crazy world. And then just all the innovation that's happening with a car. And don't get me even started about an airplane. That would have been absurd to our ancestors, or even electricity. So I would say if you are in the business space, if you are an entrepreneur, if you are even a creative, if you are anything, it is time to hop on the AI train. And I'm not saying go crazy with AI, but use it to your advantage. Become friends with AI, but also let that push you into what your truth is. And that looks really different for all of us. So, sidebar, the technology conversation, because I want to come back to the story. It was Friday, and I was definitely getting this message of, okay, I need to slow down, because there's been so many beautiful opportunities opening up and unfolding as I've been in this next chapter of business and exploring what that looks like, to consult different companies and being in the regenerative ranching space and just getting to like really go all out there. So many opportunities, and it feels like such a ripe time. It is June, becoming July now, so longest days of the year. The sun's up. I'm feeling the supercharge from the long days. I feel like it's 8 p.m. and I'm like, oh my gosh, it's nighttime, but it's still daylight. So feeling all of that rush, but the body still catches up to you, because even though we're in this fast-paced technology and innovation and go, and the capitalism and the, let's just do as much as we can, and that entrepreneur work hard, play hard mentality, the body needs us to honor. And I came to a really beautiful message and just clarity I'd gotten, because I was feeling all this overwhelm. I had made plans with friends, and I even told them ahead of time, and I'm like, you know what? I'm just gonna be super mellow, because I have just been pushing it, and I want to be here with you, and I want to see you, but I just need to chill. And this past weekend was the first weekend I just really didn't make any plans. I went to the farmer's market, but I just let myself have no plans, and that was so good. And I got off social media too. I've been going on and off Instagram. Earlier this year, from about Christmas time to the end of Q1, like almost for a full quarter, I completely stayed off Instagram. And that healed on such a deep level. Like, my thumb was literally programmed to open up the app on my phone. And I was still in this figuring out phase, because we need to be really intentional and clear with everything we do in life. So if we're on Instagram, like, why are we on the app? Are we there to just purely post catch-up moments with friends and, keep our social life active on there? And that's so valid. I do that. I have parts of that where I'm like, I just want to tell my friends what's up. I want to say hi. I want to see what they're doing. And then there's our reputation, our brand. I mean, everyone has a brand. Whether you like it or not, you have a brand, and your brand could be not posting much on social media too, but that still is going to show something about you. It's going to communicate something about you. And I was in this back and forth phase, because when I decided to take that full gap and time off of social media, I was not yet decided as far as what this next chapter of life would be. I did not know. I actually thought I would be And I was applying for other jobs to try to work full time again, because I was like, you know what? The salary, the stability, that sounds great. I'm in my late 20s. I want to save. And, stack some cash so I can make these big adult moves like buying a house and things. So that's very much the chapter I thought I was in. Same with my partner. And I would go on social media and it would feel very confusing, because for me, I spent all of my early 20s running a wellness and fitness brand, offering retreats and workshops and events, and I was so clear. I mean, it wasn't even a question. I didn't even realize I was building a brand while I was building a brand, and it was effortless to come on my phone and post and share, and I didn't even have to think about it. And while I was working at my job last year and the previous years, there was this shift, because I'm like, wait, I'm working full-time for this company, so my time is committed here. And with everything being public, that's a whole nother layer when your social media is just so transparent with the people you work with. And so you feel like, I have this brand, I want to show up on here, I want to connect, I have all these parts of myself. I don't just do marketing, I don't just help run a company. I love painting, I'm exploring music and my voice, I like horseback riding, and I want to share all of that. I love cooking. But it almost is this like being seen and like, yeah, what do you do with your time? And it's this little peer into more of your private life. And I didn't really have enough reverence for privacy either. I would post everything. And I actually don't regret that either, because that was part of me. That was part of my experience and exploration at that time of life. But yeah, taking a pause on Instagram allowed me to do all of that reflecting, and I was kind of mourning and grieving the part of myself that didn't post the way I did. I didn't have this clear brand that I was building. My brand has very much in the past year been the figuring it out brand. I am just like embracing and documenting, what is that like to be unemployed? What is that like to rebuild? What is that like to lose your whole identity? Because my identity was so wrapped up in my job. I was COO of a company. It felt like this is something I worked so hard for, which I did. Yeah, so the unraveling of the identity, that was really key. Because anyone could go on Instagram and you put whatever you want in your bio and you're that. And it gives you this high almost for a second. And then it is like, wait, am I really just all that? Because now I feel like I'm putting myself in a box. Or wait, no, I evolved. Hello, it's been 1 week. I'm a whole new person because I've gone through so much deep shit. Like, whoa. So it is a really interesting thing, and I appreciate social media for being that mirror for me because it checks me. And so basically, Friday evening, I come back from plans with my friends, and everything is great, and things have been like really beautiful in relationship. And there's always those waves, but things have been feeling really good. But there's definitely this like new learning phase, and it's so beautiful and it's exciting to me because I used to think like a year and a half into relationship, it just becomes boring and monotonous. But when you're like really committed and building that foundation and really doing life with your person, and you're like all in and you're fully in it, there's always so much learning and evolving and growth to be done. Like, I feel like we're still learning so much about ourselves, and as we're becoming new people, because the growth is continuously happening, there's always new things to continuously learn about each other. And so I was feeling the overwhelm of just life, but I think a lot of information overload, social media, going hard with work, filling up all my time. Like literally I would be cooking and eating and listening to a podcast because I'm like, yes, I need to listen to the Hormozis. I need to listen to Gary Vee. I need to like listen to this new marketing AI tool to use. Let's keep going. And then reading, but then reading my book on selling. And it was just this continuous thing. And then my brain would feel so burnt out at the end of the day. And I was like, I just want to watch a mindless show, like a random show. And I didn't realize it at the time because I was like, people are validating this. This is like a lifestyle. This is what people who are working hard do. Working hard's great. And I've come to a surrender of like, yes, I want to honor my cycles as much as I can, but also we work in seasons, and sometimes that little bit of a push or a harder week, as long as you let yourself fully recoup, because I can feel when my body is getting a tickle in my throat or when it's telling me, like I've gone through this enough where my body's telling me slow down. But I didn't realize it at the time that there was just so much noise. And how it came out was me, remember I'm 28 years old, me feeling the overwhelm of my timeline of when I want to be married, when I want to have kids, and if I have my one kid now, then I want to wait at least 2 or 2.5 years to have my next kid, but then I want another kid, so how long do I have to wait there? But then, oh wait, if we're engaged, then how much time is it until we get married? You know all of these calculations if you're a woman. And then, of course, it came out as projection on my partner, which he's freaking amazing and he's doing so much, and like he went through the same big job transition as I have. Like we're both in it. And I sometimes get this urge of like, I just want to be a woman and not work, and I want my man to provide for me 100% financially. And we've talked about it, and there's seasons that we can definitely work towards that. And I've also mentioned, yeah, like that'd be great one day when I'm in motherhood, when I'm a mother, like that would definitely be nice to not worry about bringing home all of the bacon. But right now is like, I don't even not want to work. Like I want to work. I feel so excited to push my service out to the world. Like right now, it feels clear that my service to the world is not stepping into motherhood just yet. It is serving farms and ranches and contributing to the movement of regenerative agriculture. That's what feels so true. I also teach a few yoga classes here and there, and that just stokes my fire. It keeps it alive of that movement coach within me, because I taught movement for years. I love bridging together fitness and yoga and just bringing more enthusiasm around stamina and sculpting and feeling so strong in your body and workshopping. And I love it. I get so nerded. I get nerded out about it. I love nerding out about it. And it was just perfect. There's a studio that opened up several months ago just down the street, which the town we're in, there's not much near us. So that was incredible and perfect. And so that keeps my fire alive. And those things really feel like where I'm supposed to be pouring in right now. And doing business with my partner. This is something that like we got to work together, and I feel like it prepared us so well, because that was still challenging to work at a company together, so closely together in leadership roles. And now it's like this whole nother chapter we're exploring where, like there's definitely a lot and so much growth and so much learning about each other continually. But it came out as projection on him. And I know a lot of you ladies have read or listened to the Queen's Code. And with the Queen's Code, it talks about frog farming. I'll link the book down below. And there's podcasts by Alison Armstrong too, which kind of gives you the gist. But it's really about how women, just with our words and how we are with our man, we have the power to take a really good man and actually frog farm him, like turn him into like not a great man. And that's really sad. But we also have the power to turn our man into, not even turn him into anything. We have the power to allow him to like want to be even more of a man and push him into like all that he can be. And be like that full provider and that manly man and like everything that we want, and we have the ability to step more into our feminine. And I'm very much in this figuring out phase continuously of like, how can I be this entrepreneurial woman and give my service to the world and figure out what that looks like while creating these dynamics with my partner. And now we're very much in this season of like, yeah, how do we do that while actually building a business together? But story, it came out as projection, and it was very much like, I want you to do this. Why aren't you doing this? I feel like I'm doing all this. And you know, and I was just feeling bad about myself the entire time too, because I knew like I didn't want to be doing this. And I feel like I've definitely improved a lot with how things come out, but I needed to express it. And I was having a conversation with a friend who was just validating, like, yeah, you still need to express it. And so absolutely me saying everything out loud was really beneficial. And also, if you're in a relationship, you've probably had this conversation, and if you haven't, definitely do that, of like how each of you needs to handle conflict. For example, if I'm in conflict with my partner, I need to take a little bit of time, sometimes even 24 hours before I can come back and like really come back to my truest self, especially if I'm like near my period, and just like fully ground into my honest energy and how I'm really feeling. My partner, on the other hand, is like ready to go all in like right away. And there's a lot of nuances here with conflict, and I think every time I used to run away with conflict when it came to relationship because I got really like, conflict means bad. And when I was a kid, I had a parent who had a lot of anger issues and rage, and there was abuse as well. And so definitely conflict. I would also, if I cried, I would get in trouble for crying and sometimes even hit for crying. So conflict was definitely something I ran away from, and it was always bad. And I wasn't ever able to see a conflict with the repair at the end and with all of the beautiful, rewarding healing and good emotions that happen after that repair. The repair sometimes, and then the great emotions and feelings that come after a conflict in relationship have actually made me, I don't want to say like look forward to conflict, because conflict is freaking hard, but the repair and the healing that comes afterwards, I can literally feel how much deeper and more fulfilling and more grateful and more love that I've increased capacity for after a conflict, that it almost makes me look forward to like, whoa, conflict is good. Like sometimes if it's been a few weeks and we haven't had any conflict, I'm like, whew. I'm not saying like we're due for conflict, but like I definitely noticed like this next level that our relationship gets into after. So whenever you're in conflict next, whether if it's even with a family members are nuanced because the family member has to be aware of how they are and then also be willing to go through conflict and repair. And I've tried this, and I have some family members who are down and who are down to ride that and have the awareness, and then some who, because I just shared my past, who are just like me, who are like, conflict is bad. And so even if I share my emotions, they're like, oh, you're mad, you're sad, like this is bad. You're mad, you're sad, this is bad. So yeah. It becomes like a whole thing. So anyways, with relationship, or even friendship, use the conflict as an opportunity to also understand how each of you need to move through the conflict, move through the feels. And so I mentioned I need more space. Sometimes my partner is ready to get into it. He's so grounded and patient and like peaceful, and I need to like have a fit and be in a little bit of chaos and definitely like take some time. I'm a like hermit in human design, so I need to like hermit mode and do something that makes me feel independent and makes me remember who I am and then come back to it. That being said, even though when you express yourself, you want to be truthful and you want to feel like you can fully express, but if you feel like you have the tendency of like maybe you can get really mean or rude or say words that you're gonna really regret, I would definitely pause and do your best. I know this part's so hard, but do your best to tell your partner like, hey, I'm just like, I can't even speak because I don't want to say anything that I'm not going to feel good about. I know we really need to address this conflict and it's almost bedtime, but it's just not going to come out right now how I need it to be. So let me take some time and come back to you about this. So that's definitely something that to me is still very difficult to do, but really beneficial, and that's the ideal. So in this scenario, conflict happened, conversation bubbled up. I couldn't hold it in any longer. It was before bedtime. That's also hard because if you're like us and if you want to have like a good bedtime and prioritize your sleep in that way, then there's this like pressure. There's like this countdown at night where it's like, okay, it's 10 p.m. Now it's 10:30. Okay, it's like getting really late, and we know that this conversation needs time. That's the biggest thing with repair conversations after conflict. You need to give it like 3 hours or more if you need to. Like, really give it spaciousness, because when there's that time constraint, your body is going to react with that time constraint and it's not going to be ideal. So I shared what I needed to share at night, felt the countdown, and I wish we could have been going to sleep in a better mood. That is something that I really prioritize. We really prioritize as far as like feeling good when we sleep so we can cuddle and it just feels really good. It's one of my favorite things that I like to this day. I look forward to just feeling so good with my partner at night. But yeah, it was still feeling a bit heavy. Took some time for silence, and the next morning I did a little farmer's market run solo, and I was still just feeling those feels of my period coming on, and I just got so much clarity of like, there's just too much noise. There's too much noise. Like, I'm not even really worried about anything. I feel like we're right on time, and it looks different than everybody else, but for us, for myself and my partner, like, we're right on time. And yeah, I'm 28. I'm supposed to be figuring my life out, and I'm going to be in these ups and downs with work, and that is the journey that you take when you're so committed to your truth and your assignment and your God-given mission, when you're letting God just move through you. And I feel like I like to explain this a little bit. God can mean the universe. It can mean like literally whoever you resonate as your creator, as the source for all that is, the divinity in everything. The word God feels really resonant for me. So when you're so connected with that channel through you, life is going to take you on a freaking roller coaster, and it's actually going to be so good and delightful if you let it. So I had prayed for this a few days before that because I knew I was feeling this overwhelm. I knew I felt like I was on this hamster wheel, and I was like, I just really want to pray for some like peace. Like, that's the biggest thing I feel like I desire in this world, like peace. And that can look like anything, but I feel like peace is so important. Peace, and then that freedom of what your life feels like for you, and then wealth and richness and love and like everything that comes from that, but peace number one. And yeah, I felt that clarity, that message, and I was like, oh my gosh, this feels like my prayer was answered, because I got the clarity of like, you are filling up all your time with podcasts, even music. You are watching a ton of YouTube videos, even though I love YouTube. I love all the creators I watch on here. I would way rather spend my time watching YouTube than short form content everywhere else. But when the Instagram app is on my phone, then I'm on the app, and then I'm like more concerned about who's watching what, and I'm very much in my experimental phase. I really don't exactly have a clear idea of what I want to be on the app to post and what exactly I'm selling, because I know every business is different, but the way that we are creating our business and getting clients and leads is a way more organic, outbound, direct approach, like referrals, like knowing real people, reaching out to people personally. And the approach we're taking is not like, let's just post a bunch of content and get people in that way. So it's this very confusing thing, because I'm like, I want to be intentional and use social media to post about business stuff, but I'm not actually trying to get clients on there right now. So I got the message and it was like, definitely take Instagram off your phone again, which I've had no problem doing, especially from taking that long gap. It feels very easy to do that. But I was also like getting the message of, yeah, pause on the podcast, pause on like watching any type of TV or videos that's not fully intentional. Stop eating while you're watching stuff, because that is definitely a comfort thing. And it's really easy for me to get into a habit of it. But actually, when I'm cooking and just eating in silence and devoting full presence to that, it feels so good. And that's what I'm really here to share today. And if it's like one thing, if this even inspires you to take like a weekend break to do this, or have this be a gift that you give yourself, it's taking those breaks of not just off Instagram and social media, but literally of all of the information and all of the media. And if you're needing any clarity on life, if you're ever feeling confused or lost or overwhelmed, it is literally taking a pause and spending time with yourself, connecting and spending time with God, however that resonates with you, and letting yourself really tune into the truth and to the remembrance and to that like peace. And it takes discipline too. If you're someone who's like a go-getter or a generator like me, like anytime I get an idea, I want to act on it, and I get like really excited and I just want to go after it. And that also creates overwhelm, because like social media is wonderful because there's so much inspiration and there's so many videos and podcasts I listen to where I'm like, I want to do this, and this just inspired me to do this, and I want to apply this to this my business and blah blah blah. But it actually, even though it feels like inspiration, it's actually like a dopamine hit every single time, and we can get addicted to that, and it doesn't actually allow us to get into the deep work. That's a whole nother video. Deep work has been revolutionary for me, and I'm still very much anchoring into that and training myself in deep work. So I want to work that muscle a little bit, but it's this idea of like really cutting out all of the noise and not just doing shallow work like quick emails, quick communication, things that make you feel busy, answering Slack messages here and there, hopping on Zoom meetings. No, but like really doing the work that's going to push you forward, that's going to push the company forward, whether you're doing work for a company or whoever, or for yourself. Like literally devoting, it could be 1 hour, it could be 3 hours. It could be that deep work session where you're like fully committing, full presence, and it feels so good and it's so good for you and you feel so satisfied after. And so taking that time, cutting out all the noise for the deep work, but also for the time to just contemplate, for the time to let your imagination run wild. So as I've been taking this pause away from all the consumption, I've been coming back into fiction books, which are so healing for me. If you're a woman, be careful to not get too into the romance novel categories. I feel like they're really wonderful and I love them, and I also feel like it's a little dance when you're in a relationship or when you're like wanting a relationship, because romance novels, just like rom-com movies, when they paint a picture of the man, you know, like it can sometimes pull you away from like fully being in the presence and fantasizing about your man. And so men and women have it differently with how they get tempted or fantasize about things. And just because women are not seen as those like, I don't want to use the word animals, but just like as horny or as crazy in their minds with like sex all the time, sex everywhere, sexy things all the time, or porn or whatever it is. Like, women, I've heard this somewhere where romance novels are like the female version of porn. So, and like romance movies are like a soft porn thing. That's a totally another topic and subject as well that I want to dive into, but just be conscious of that. But I also really highly recommend fiction books. They've been really good, and they definitely like entertain me while letting my mind feel so like fluid and good with like imagination, and spending less time away from the screen. Going on walks, getting sun, it sounds so basic, but it's so good. And like, I literally feel like my hormones and everything just feels better, and it's so easy to like cocoon and not do that. So do that. And then this whole idea of slow cooking. I don't know when women felt this like urge of like everything needs to be rushed, even when I'm combing my hair. I mean, like, this hair takes work. If I just do it fast, I will like pull out so much of my hair. I need to go slow with even when I'm putting like oil on my body. I don't know why I rush these things, or like rush brushing my teeth. It's like I'm programmed to move fast, and I need to reprogram to move slower. And cooking slow, like, at some point years ago in my early 20s, when I was doing fitness, when I was waking up at 5:30 in the morning, meal prepping for the day, going to work, running a business all at the same time, I started meal prepping like crazy and doing everything so fast and trying to be efficient, and that stayed with me, and it's very helpful at times. But I've worked hard to create this lifestyle where I can move slow and take an extra 15 minutes or even half an hour to not only pour into cooking my meals, but eating my meals as well. And doing that actually changes the way that I digest food and how it like absorbs in my body. And it's not just like a quick thing where I'm cooking and washing dishes. Like, all of this can become so much more enjoyable. And so this past weekend, when I got that full message of I need to just take out all the noise, and I came back with so much more peace. My partner and I had a repair conversation. It felt so good, and I've just felt so close to him, and just like so delicious and yummy, and just like, you know, there's that story too of like when a woman's on her period, like she just wants to be away from everybody in her own zone. But like, I've been on my period, and I'm like feeling happy and excited to give pleasure to my man, and to just spend nourishing time with him, and to cook for him, and to do the laundry and fold our laundry, and just like step into all of these things that can become easily something that's resentful, and then that makes me want to project onto him, to like something that feels very nourishing and that I enjoy doing for the both of us. Even my walks, like just walking, and I'm like, wow, I'm soaking up everything so much more. I don't know how many of you guys have done like psychedelics or psilocybin, but like that same feeling is accessible. And when we give ourselves that, it's like, wow, I'm looking at the world in awe. So I'll wrap this up here, and please let me know how you liked more of this raw, unfiltered talk, this long talk. But I just feel like my soul is craving, and I know so many more people are craving this like slowness. And even the way I used to edit videos was like chop, chop, cut out all the ums and the buts and the likes and the pauses where I'm trying to collect my thoughts and make it like a hook and a attention grabber. And that there's still a time and place for that, when we are literally in the marketplace selling people things and needing to grab attention, and you could do that strategically. But also check yourself, and how, like, you will know, and this is where I talk about contemplation and the silence, contemplating in the silence, spending time with God, spending time with yourself, remembering, coming back to your truth. And like, you can call it downloads, you can call it whatever, but your clarity and that truth of how that needs to come through, and your next steps will be so clear, but it will not come just the more information you're listening to. Like, all of the answers are within us, and we have access to them, but we need to give the silence and the space to do so. And so I'm definitely coming from a place where I feel so good. I felt so good to even just work out this morning and get back to an early breakfast and just re-inspired to like nourish my body and just move slower and more diligent and really like pour into everything, and it's felt so good. Yesterday I really devoted to a deep work session, and I'm like, I can't believe I'm only gonna do all of my work in 3 hours and I don't want to do any of my shallow work. And it ended up being so good. Like I was full on my bleed, cramps, lower back pain, a little bit of like uncomfort, but I got in like 2 really good half-an-hour walks in the sun, did 3 meals. I cooked 2 of them for my partner and I got a really good deep work session in where I was like, oh, this is the kind of work that's really going to push the needle forward for my clients and for my own business. And it felt so gratifying, and I was like in awe. I was like, I feel like I had so much time for everything yesterday, but I moved way slower. I was like, pfft. So this is a reminder. This is accessible for you. Like I want every woman and man, but like woman to have access to this place of peace that you can access, and you almost have to play defense with all of the noise and the media that is going to continuously pull from you. So claim your power back that way. All right, thank you so much for being here. If you're still here, please let me know how you liked this type of video. My name is Sucha, and I think I'll be back on here experimenting with more of these types of videos.